Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that if you do the things you have power, if you do not do the things you absolutely not have we start with 2 live hogs on Friday afternoon, and by Sunday afternoon, we've got bacon and pork chop. And this is all done by the students. Day one, we're going to start with 2 live hogs, quick instructional on what's going to happen, and then we head out to the field. It's a unique experience because it starts off by taking a life into the lives of the students stand by and they watch that. And a friend of mine said one time, you should never underestimate the importance of a bloody Homestead.
Keith.
Pigs at home that I wanted to do when I get home from the class. So I had a conversation with Jill prior to coming, and it's like, lay it down for me. If I'm not going to be ready for that, that's fine. But I'd like to know going into it if that's a realistic expectation for the class. It was a lot. It was a little apprehensive when I first came. It was a little intense at first, but by the second one we took out of the field, it seemed like it's something I can do.
All right, day 2. We start right off 9 o'clock in the morning. We've got halves of hogs laying on the work tables, and we're going to break them into primals. Some of those primals set aside to break them further into subprimals. And from there is when we start to form out our pork chops and bacon and all the trim that goes in tubs ready for burn.
Can you hear me? I'm not saying anything.
Never done a pig before. That was some challenging. Great experience of having this a group of people that care to walk me through it. Because I'm going to implement this for my family. Just the attention to detail, caring, making sure people learn this skill was awesome. All right, so here at Hog Harvest, we try to do the best job possible to teach you things, but also show you how good the products that you can make from your pig are. So right now, I'm reverse searing some steaks that we're going to have for dinner tonight and doing some smoking on them. And we got a couple of other awesome culinary things that we're going to be enjoying this evening.
So one thing that we try to do is show you how to use all the different parts of the pig, parts that people would usually just throw away, like the organs, this is the caul fat, all the different parts. We show you how to use those. So we have the caul fat, and there's ground pork and then heart wrapped up in these. Make sweet little meatballs. We'll put them in the oven and bake them. And then later I'm going to sear up the tongue and some heart that we've marinated. So you guys get to see how we use all the different parts and how you can use them at home.
to do one of the things I really love personally because it's a combination of science and art. We're going to be curing the meat for bacon, ham, and anything else that ham hocks, that kind of thing. And we're going to be making sausage. This is where the magic really happens. The parts of the pig that people really, everybody loves bacon. Everybody loves breakfast sausage. So that's what we're going to be making today.
One of the things that I enjoy the most about the Homestead Hog Harvest class is to see the progress of the streets. When they show up here Friday afternoon, nobody really knows anybody. By the end of Saturday night, people have formed friendships, and then there's a lot of conversation about what they're going to do with this information when they go back to their homesteads. And that's when it gets really exciting, right? And then when we show up Sunday morning, people are ready to rock. It's kind of sad in a way because it's the last day, and a lot of these folks we don't get to see ever again. And we know that. We're kind of used to it, so we make the best of it, and we've made it. It's a successful operation. They take that success and the embrace of the knowledge that they can do this on their way to go. It is a feeling out of that. Out of that. Yeah. And I do. It's just, I guess, like you and I, we started doing this when we started this farm. And because we started doing this, we have the power to pass it to others. It's a good feeling. You know, you send these people out, give them a start. A lot of them are going to grow into mighty oaks. It's great.
You guys have a really good program here, and someone that, even though I did it once, I still was very novice. Didn't know what I was doing. I feel it really put a lot of confidence in me to be able to go home.
In the course of a couple of days, we form relationships and we overcome barriers, and people really start to see that anyone can farm. And that's the point. Anyone can farm.
Okay. Okay, right on. That was awesome. Okay, now it's just me. Welcome to the Anyone Can Farm Experience Tuesday night live stream conversation. We're going to be talking about homesteading, small farming, and just plain living. I'm Mark, your host, coming from Baker's Green Acres here in lovely Marion, Michigan. And let's see, I'm going to get right into it. I'm enjoying my life. I'm actually looking at myself thinking, boy, that's a happy looking guy. And I am. I'm a very happy person today. Let's see who we got with us. We got Keith Sutton, Inga Brummans, the Abundant Living people, Penny Lund, and David Duncan. All right. Good. Well, I appreciate everybody coming by. I know people have things to do. It's Tuesday night, and the weather's changing, and I know around here it's pretty busy. It seems like it's always busy around here. There's always something happening. But The events as of late have gotten my attention, as I'm sure they have gotten everybody's attention, and I think it's probably probably a good thing for you to catch what's going on in the world. Our friends over in Israel are not getting along with our other friends over in Palestine, and so they're having a little bit of a tiff. More than that, and I don't really even want to get into it because well, they did this because they did this, and then they did this because they did this, and it doesn't really. That's not the point of me bringing it up, and that's not why that's not why it's on my radar. Like, they've been doing things for a long time, and they're probably going to continue to do it for a long time. Maybe unless this is the end of the road for one of them, the other. I don't know. And honestly, I'm somewhat apathetic about the entire situation, right? Like all of you who have seen any of it, war is very hard on people. It's very hard on people, and a lot of terrible things happen. And you know what happened? I guess it was Saturday night our time. It was Sunday morning their time. And what happened was pretty bad, pretty atrocious. I want to share with you a few things that I know. Just a few things that I know. I'll stay away from the things that I don't know. There's an agency that's known as the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, and they are well known in the military community as a very efficient, sophisticated, well-disciplined group, and they are charged with the security of Israel. And for some reason, that particular day, they were asleep at the wheel, and not just one or two, but it seems like the command was asleep at the wheel. It almost seems like they said, hey, you guys, why don't you all take a coffee break and don't worry about it, which to me, as someone who served in the military, and I know how things go, it's beyond fishy, right? It's beyond an oversight. And you have the human element that maybe was taking a smoke break, but they have backup after backup after backup of very sophisticated equipment to ensure that what happened on Sunday does not happen. Because what happened now has to be responded to. So you have to ask the question, then why did it happen? Did they wish to respond? I'm going to have to leave it right there because we've seen incidents like very similar to that happen on our own soil when our defenses were mysteriously nowhere to be found, and then there were attacks that were committed, and then all of a sudden, oh well, I guess we can go to war now. And so that looks like what's going to happen in the Middle East. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is to share with you my point of view that helps me to stay with the program. Stay with the program. Don't just start thinking that, oh, well, if these guys would have only done this, then this wouldn't be happening. And it would have saved lives. And somebody needs to be brought up on charges and get all wrapped around the axle. You got to get away from that. And it's taken me a long time to get away from that. I was telling a friend of mine way back when something like that would happen in our country, I would personally take it up the chain of command, and only to find out that, it's not that people don't care, it's that you can't do anything about it. It's sort of like, honestly, and this might kind of oversimplify it, but this is the way I see it now. And when I see something happen like what happened on in Israel on Sunday, I to calm my spirit, I liken it to a show that we're watching on TV. Whatever the show is, let's say it was All Creatures Great and Small, which I highly recommend. Excellent series on, I think it's PBS, maybe. Highly recommend it. Really fun. And things go wrong in that series. They go wrong. Like the guy's car breaks down, and you're like, darn, somebody should have fixed that car. And then you have to get a hold of yourself and say, hey, wait a minute. That's in the script. That's supposed to have, the car didn't really break. It's in the script. That's sort of like what happened in Israel. From my point of view, you can feel about it however you want. This is, I'm trying to bring to you what you would get if you came over my house tonight and then a bunch of us were sitting around at the kitchen table and we were having a cup of coffee and somebody said, well, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, well, I'll tell you. And my point of view comes from somebody that is interested in these types of things, spent 20 years within the military, saw things happen with my own eyes, and I would hear a different story on the news and think, I wonder why that happens, like there must be something I'm missing here. I don't see the big picture, they used to say. If you see the big picture, you'll understand why sometimes disinformation is necessary, right? It's better to just make peace with the fact that at the level that we are at, it's in the script. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Now, I couldn't really enjoy what I saw. I saw some things that I did not like very much. And I did watch those things because I wanted to determine, is this real? Is this really happening? Because we have, we have a media, and that's part of the script too. We have a media that doesn't tell us the truth. They don't. Because if they did, then the script that we're watching, we would be catching on to what's going on here. Because why is the script being foisted on us? And it's to hurt us, to manipulate us, to get us to believe things and go places and do things, right? We watched this thing at lunchtime today, and it was about the attack on Pearl Harbor. It just so happens that's what my kids like to watch, documentaries at lunchtime once in a while. And it's like the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor with 350 something airplanes. And they did a fair amount of damage. And according to the reports, there was 3,000 people perished, 3,000 souls. And as we were watching this documentary, a lot of it was live footage, and I saw at least one plane load of bombs just fall into the bay. They missed, which is pretty common in war. I missed. You're carrying a bomb load of planes, and you're at altitude, and you're going to drop them, try to hit a ship. You missed, right? I saw that happen. I saw them fall in the water, and I thought, wow, that's something. Again, the early warning systems that day were not working the way they should. It may be in black and white, but yeah, we had radar then, over the horizon radar, as a matter of fact. Plus, we don't just rely on radar. We always have assets that are out a little further, that have radar sets that are airborne, that can look even further. And we always are looking for clear skies. We don't want to see a formation of airplanes fly in our direction. But that particular day, for some reason, that formation of airplanes was kind of overlooked. And the rest is history. We got into World War II. And I'm not really wanting to say anything. I'm not going to make any accusations. I'm just trying to put it in perspective of what happened in Israel could be an indication of where we could be going. And for a while now, even since we've been getting together, we felt like there was going to be something, that something was coming. It was like we were being prepared for something, and probably not a good thing. It's almost like the controllers were going to do something, you know. And we already know that you know, there's bad people in the world, and usually they arise to the positions of power, and they like to manipulate things. And I don't know, maybe we'd be up the creek without a paddle without them, you know? You ever think of that? Maybe they're doing a darn good job, you know, World War II. Boy, it's a good thing we had that. Without that, we'd be in real trouble. I don't know. I don't think so. And I don't really even want to debate it any more than I've said, because it doesn't matter, right? But what does matter, is the work that I did, and I'm just talking about this farm, this homestead, the work that I did a year ago today, and I'm not exactly sure what that is, not exactly, but it's done. And let's say a year ago today, let's see, where was I? Oh, yeah, we were prepared. Oh, yeah, that video that we showed at the beginning of the stream. We were preparing to do hog harvest in the new location, the new barn location. So I had just put the windows in, and we had just painted the window frames. Actually, Sam Miner was helping me. And he says, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "Can you finish painting these window frames?" And he did. Those window frames are still painted. They don't need to be painted again, and they won't probably for another 10 years. So that work that was done that day is done. Having windows in that building is real important, because it is a butcher shop now. And this homestead relies on that butcher shop for a place for us to process animals, and we actually make our living out of that, partially out of there. So we're butchering beef, pork, chicken out of there, and we do it seasonally. And that building, for your information, it's not complete by any means. Like today, I was putting the faucet on the sink that I built, you know, a couple weeks ago and installed last week. Had to put legs on it, and it's a you know, it's a piece process. I got all I could do last week done, and then the faucet came by UPS yesterday afternoon. I put it together this afternoon. I bolted it on the sink, and there it is. It's on. And we were heading over to a friend's house that here lives locally, and so we had to leave here about 5:15, and so that's as far as I got. But my point is that in light of what happened this weekend, which I cannot control, there's nothing I can do about that. I can watch videos of people being abused and murdered and stuff and feel bad, but that doesn't change anything. But in my biosphere, the work that I've done over the last 19 years on this place is going to make it so that I can continue for my family. We can continue here. And if this incident leads to something worse, which in my opinion, it could. This is major what happened here, because the response is going to be times 10 And then what happens then? Like I saw that the Israelis started to strike into the Gaza region today with artillery, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty because there are no military targets in the Gaza Strip. You know, there's not runways there and bases and things like that. They are hitting civilian targets, and they're hitting them hard. But if you saw what Hamas did to the civilians, you almost feel like hit them again, you know, but they're just civilians, and it's a horrible war. Is not a good thing, folks. It is a horrible, terrible thing, and it should be outlawed. It should be outlawed in this world. And maybe we're headed to the place where it will be outlawed and all the weapons will go away, you know, and then we just farm, right? Wouldn't that be nice? It'd be really nice. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a tree hugger type, but I would be if we could go there. I would definitely let it all go and just grow food if we could go there and live in a peaceful society. But it's not up to me. I'm just saying that when we started this farm, it was for this time. It was for this time. It is, you know, we are preparing for a storm, and a storm has, you know, it's reared its ugly head. And was this the one that I was preparing for? No, not necessarily. I didn't see this one coming. It was definitely on the radar that it could. And now what do we have going on in the States? We have people lining up politically behind Palestinians and other people lining up politically behind the Israelis. Imagine that. But we've been kind of trained as a society to line up politically behind a piece of fabric that you put on your face, you know. Oh, Democrats will wear it, but Republicans won't, you know. And I'm not saying that's 100%, but, and it's just too bad. It's too bad. And I can do what I can to not participate in that and not promote that. I'm not trying to promote that. But that is what's going on. So are we primed for an escalation here stateside? You know, the pro-Palestinian people have already taken to the streets and they're protesting. Are we going to have somebody do something to the protesting mob? And is that going to like get out of hand like Black Lives Matter did? Who knows? Who knows? But there's potential for worse things. Like, and I think what I see is potential problems is maybe a power down situation or a supply line disruption. That seems to me to be the two biggies, right? And so anyway, it you know, I'm not here to predict that or say, well, this is what you got to do if that happens. I guess what I was able to do over the last couple days is say, I sure am glad I got that done. You know, I sure am glad I got that done. I sure am glad I got that done. And a fire has been lit under me to say, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish this. I want to make sure this is ready to go. Because in a situation like this, let's say this does escalate, what do you do? And you guys know I spend a fair amount of time. I don't know why, you know, like tonight, I will be done with this show about 9:30. I'll have something to eat and Jill will go to bed. Tuesday nights, usually this is how it goes. And after being on with you guys and talking, and my brain is firing, I'm not ready for bed when Jill is. So she likes to go to bed early. And then I will watch TV. And I always gravitate towards documentaries about our past. I don't know why. But that's just where I land, and it keeps my attention, and I just enjoy it. And I think I don't know as enjoy it is but it's sort of like seeing where you're going by looking in the rear view mirror. And you look in the rear view mirror and you can see where you've been. I don't recommend it going down the highway, but you know what I'm saying. So I do watch a lot of documentaries, and a lot of times I think about the struggle that's going on in the United States right now, and the place that we are as American citizens, like the French. We are in the place of the French citizenry. Like, they had been occupied by the Nazis. They had. And the Nazis were hard on them. A lot of the French citizenry, they kind of, oh, you want to do business? We can do business. And they mugged right up to them. And they did that. A lot of the women fathered German children and everything else. Germans occupied the place for quite some time, like 4 years. And then the Allies come. D-Day happens, and we land on the beaches. And we come inland, and we start getting the Germans on the run. But before we did that, we had to soften up the beach. And what did we do that with? B-17s and artillery off ships, 16-inch shells. It killed like 5,000 people. The Allies killed people, just innocent people that were there. That's where they lived. And then the fighting began, and more people were killed. And they were innocents. And it was just a horrible thing. And whole families were wiped out. Whole lineages were wiped out. Horrible. Nothing good about that. And I think we're kind of in the same place right now as American citizens. Now, am I recommending that, time to build that bomb shelter? I'm not. I just don't get the warm fuzzies when I think about that. Well, maybe a little. But as a bomb shelter, no, I don't get the warm fuzzies of that. I do have an idea in my mind just for survival purposes. See, I was thinking about this today. When I was a kid, I was a saver. I saved stuff. And read a short story when I was in middle school, I think, about a guy that was shipwrecked. Him and a dog got shipwrecked, and they wound up on a boat together, no food. And then it kind of went through the guy's life after he was rescued, and very, very similar to that Castaway movie, and it had a big impression on me. And then I had a situation when I was in the military, when I thought I was going to be hungry. And because of that story, when I was a kid, I never really even got hungry, but I thought I was going to be hungry, and it was like the worst thing in my mind. And, like when I'm someplace other than my own bed sleeping, and there's noises going on in the jungles of the Philippine Islands, and I'm thinking, oh, what's it going to be like if I starve to death and stuff? So it was a traumatic experience, right? It was all my fault because I didn't take the food I was supposed to, because I didn't want to carry it, right? And I just had this traumatic experience. Nobody knew about it except for me, and now I'm telling you about it. So I've always been kind of one of those people, and I think my sisters said, oh, you're like that survivalist mindset. Oh, survivalist. That sounds good. They were trying to put me down as being a survivalist. And then now they call them preppers, and they're preppers. And even a good friend of ours here in the tribe said, oh, don't say that, don't say preppers. And like, as if it's a slam. I don't see it as a slam, but I mean, she felt as though you go on some list and the government's watching you, like they got time to watch you because you put up some extra beans or something. They don't care about you. Isn't that obvious by now? They tell you all kinds of weird lies, and hey, they're never going to believe it. Who cares if they believe it? We don't care at this point. They're doing what they're doing. We're kind of stuck in the middle of two factions between the Nazis and the Allies. And this whole notion of good guys, bad guys, if the Nazis had won, they would be the good guys. But they lost, so they are the bad guys. Right? And when we wrote the history books, we didn't say, yeah, the Allied invasion at Normandy, we killed 3,000 civilians accidentally. They don't put that in. They don't lead with that. It happened. Yes, we're not going to hide it from you, but we're not going to lead with that. And could this be the same thing? I think it could. And what are we going to do? Call our congressman, tell him to go a different direction? Like that's going to happen? No. You can only do what you can do. And a lot of times doing what you can do is what you should do. Stay out of somebody else's business. Your congressman, you better call your congressman. I'm telling you. I knew this old boy back in Montana. And he would get worked up about something that was happening. And he somehow thought that by telling it to me, and that if I called my congressman, we could get that situation turned around. Like if Mark calls his congressman, well, that's going to really change things. And I used to think that, hey, maybe I have some power. Maybe my congressman will listen to me. But, they don't listen. They don't care what you have to say. They have some flunky take your phone call, and then they just like, whoop, that's it. So anyway, but this old boy used to say to me, hey, tell you what, he had a New York accent. You better call your congressman. You better be calling your congressman. I tell you what. So, at this point, that's not going to do any good. But what will do good? Well, let me tell you what went on around here today. I thought it was time. My kids don't watch the news, and they're not up on this stuff. But my youngest is 12, and then my next is 14, and then 18. And I thought, and we were at the table having breakfast, and I said, hey, we're going to have a little staff meeting. And I said, hey, this is what's going on. And there's a possibility it could escalate. And there is a possibility from that escalation, we could have a supply chain that's disrupted. And if that happens, we could have people that are hungry. And if that happens, we could have people that are coming to the farm. And if they get hungry enough, we could have situations that could be need to be dealt with. And how are we going to do this? And so I wanted to outline to them my plan, that if that happens, this is what we're going to do. And I said to them, this is why we want to have the facilities put together. So when people come to us and say, I have children to feed, I have no money, I just need some food, I'll say, okay, well, come on, you're going to work. You can skin a cow, right? No. Well, today's your lucky day, because today's the day that you're going to learn how to skin a cow, and we will put them to work. And when they leave for the day, they'll leave with 2 pounds of hamburger. That's the best I can do. You can take it home and you can feed your kids. They'll go to bed with full bellies. Be back here tomorrow. I got another cow you need to skin. We can't just give you stuff, because how long will that work if we're just a food line for people, But if we had 6 people that were skinning cows, I live in a county where there's probably 10 times more cows than there is people. I'm sure there are. And we've got lots of land that we could be putting people on the end of hoes and planting potatoes and harvesting potatoes and all the other things that is being done for us. But now when we have people who are hungry, if we can organize them, they can sustain themselves and they will learn something. Sort of like I was going to do with the jail. If I was elected sheriff, when I ran for sheriff in this county, I was going to pretty much hit the circuit breaker on the jail and say, hey, we're going to move out to the farm. We're going to have those inmates, so long as they're fairly trustworthy, we're going to put those guys to work and teach them how to do something out at the farm. What a waste to have them sit in a cell watching CNN all day. I mean, it's just going to create commies. So, but I didn't get elected. Dominion. They want me to run again this time. I say they, probably like one guy. What do we got here? So that is my plan. I mean, that's the best plan that I can come up with. And some of these things I did want to talk about here, and I will take your questions tonight, by the way. Okay, I'm going to read some of these catch up. I tried to get a hold of Faylene for some more mullein this winter, but there's no response. Is there? Maybe she doesn't want to talk to you. I'm not sure. Mullein, you can find mullein. There'd be mullein growing all over the place. Tara Hugo is saying, I agree with you. It's resembling what? The clerics with us. Right on. Be seeing them in a couple of weeks. Not this week, but the week after. They're having a like a harvest gathering down at their place, and we're going. We're going to be partying with the clerics. The leader is a warmonger. They gave them the opportunity to attack, but their defense and put their defense down, and in retaliation will what give? Huh. Okay. A year ago, you bought all that wood to store. Oh, yeah. Wow. Terry Hugo, you're writing a lot of stuff. They shut off water and food, med supplies to 2.5 million civilians. Yeah, they did. Okay. Pushing Wind. Good evening, Mark and Jill. Hello, Pushing Wind. That's neat. Oh, yeah. Hit the thumbs up, will you guys? And Debbie Van Fossen's with us. Wow. I haven't seen Debbie in quite a long time. All right, cool. Another very essential thing. Okay, so here we are. This is where we are. And going down the road from here, like tomorrow, the 11th, I'm sure it's just going to be clear sailing, right? It's going to be the land of milk and honey. You guys won't have to go to work anymore. Be just getting checks in the mail, Obama phones. No. There's every indication that things could become a little bit more challenging. So it makes me feel as though what I have done was not in vain. There's almost a little bit of, like, as I walk around, this is going to sound a little weird, but I can almost kind of gloat a little bit, like, told you guys. I feel like Noah, right? Just call me Noah. Told you guys. Now, what have we accomplished? What have we accomplished? The people that are in here and have listened to this diatribe for a long time now, can you tell me what has taken root and you have done? Can you tell me what you have done? And is it going to be of benefit to you in the days to come? Can I get people to, give me some input on here? What things have you done that are going to help you going into the future? This would be a great exercise if 12 of you just started saying, well, I did this, and this is going to help me going into the future. This. What are these things? And how are they helping you? Yeah, Inga, more self-sufficiency. For sure. The more you can pull away from the system, the less you're dependent on the system, and the system is going to respond, right? It already is responding. Oh, Israel, time to turn up the the price of gasoline. Why not? It's the Middle East. Americans won't, they won't say anything. They'll just pay it. And what else will start to happen? Did you notice during the Wu flu, looking back on it, COVID became the response for many, many things. Many, many things. And I was even kidding around the other day with my family as I'm driving down the road, and we were kind of looking back. You're not sure why the supply chain is coming from Gaza. Huh. That sounds like a guy that's kidding with me, right? You're kidding with me, right? The supply chain doesn't come from Gaza, but we have factions in the United States that hate each other too. So let's say something real bad goes down in, say, a Chicago. All of our stuff comes via semis. So let's say the roads have to be shut down for a while. That happens. That would disrupt the supply chain. Let's say that there is a power down situation, power grid failure. And I'm not saying that our grid is so fragile that it might just happen. No, I think somebody might make it happen. That would be sabotage. That would be an act of war. And you know that Israel did declare war. So it's no joke. They've pulled the stops. They can do what they want to now, and they were doing it today. Dehydrate food for winter. Yeah, for sure. If you're not reliant on the stores, if something goes wrong there, whenever there's a problem like this, things go wrong on these places. Oh, I was saying about COVID. That's what I was saying. This is actually kind of funny. Is we were kind of reminiscing about COVID and how it became the response to just about everything. Well, COVID, So I was saying, well, I wonder if that would still work. Let's say I get pulled over by a state trooper and he says, well, you were speeding. I'd say, yeah, I know, but I think I got COVID again. I think I got COVID, and it caused my brain to swell up a little bit. Hold on a second. And yeah, it's COVID, and my doc said that I won't be on top of everything, but that's what it is. It became a great excuse for a lot of people, and you'd hear it everywhere. You'd go into a store and they couldn't make change because of COVID, or you name it. Everything was COVID. But this thing here could create a lot of problems. It could create a lot of problems, politically. So what else? Okay, Dave and Sonia's here. We've got our dehydrator running, and we've dehydrated quite a bit of stuff. Having a lot of fun with it. Joel's had that thing going pretty steady. I had a notion today that I would like to title this talk tonight, Building Your Tribe, right? What we have right now is we have the tribe, and it's a Facebook group, and it's international, it's all over the place. So if you need somebody that does something and you see that they have a certain skill, but they're in New Mexico and you're here, it doesn't really benefit you that much unless it's just an information thing. But if it's a hands-on thing that you need help with, that doesn't really help. So I think it is a concept that you have to think about and pursue when you are introduced to somebody in your area. Let's say you have a get together, a tribe day, something like that, and so what do you do? I'm an accountant. Oh, wow, that's good. You should be thinking, is this someone that could be in my tribe, someone that I could rely on, someone in my community, and they could probably rely on me. So, for instance, I'm really open with the people that are in my tribe, and it's a good tribe to be in. And what I provide is I provide a place where we produce beef, pork, chicken, and then we have butchering services available. We have training services available. We do a lot of food things. We make a lot of things. But I have people in my circle that don't do what I do. Like the other day, I needed, our car pooched, our pilot. Got all these lights came on the dashboard, and so there's a guy that's in my immediate circle, in my immediate tribe. I told you about him. A lot of you guys have done business with him, John Spears. He's got a used car dealership in Cadillac, Mighty Cadillac, and he tows. He's got a fleet of tow trucks, and we butchered chickens for him one year, and that's how I met him. And we've just gotten along pretty good. His family gets along with my family. His kids have worked for us, and my kids kind of hang out a little bit and stuff. So it's a good mix. We provide each other services. I've helped him with a couple things on his place, and he's taken some classes from us to learn how to butcher, and they've done that successfully. And he's, when you do that, you feel like, yeehaw, you want to go to the next thing. Well, if I have a car problem, it's not really my problem. It's kind of his problem, because he's the guy that I call. I bought the car from him, and if I buy another car, I will buy it from him because he does me right. And I'm always going to do business with my friends first if I can. And so something went wrong with the car the other day, and what a great feeling it was. It happened Friday afternoon. What a great feeling it was to say, I know who to call. Like the new cars, you guys know I'm a mechanic, but the new cars, I don't know what to do with that. It had electronic problems. Honestly, I've got enough to do. I really didn't want to. So I said, well, I'll pull the battery out of it and I'll charge it, see what happens. So I did that, put it back in on Saturday morning. It started, but I still had all these lights on the dashboard. And so I just got on my phone, pull up John Spears. Looks like I'm going to need a tow. The pilot's got some issues. He gets back to me. He says, I'll pick it up today. And I said, no problem. So then it's like not on my radar anymore. It is going to get taken care of. If you have a car problem, it's going to cost you money, right? But I would rather it be in the hands of somebody who cares enough to do a good job, and if the job isn't done right, it'll just be, hey, it's not working. And oh, okay. I mean, like the guy's character, he's not going to rip me off. And I just, as far as I know, I mean, several of my friends have done business with him and been very pleased. I have another guy, Parker Holmes. You guys know I talk about Parker all the time. He's a great guy. He's a homesteader extraordinaire, owns a nice homestead over here in lovely Leroy, and he's just getting started. Got a real nice wife. She's a school teacher. And they started up a thing called Homestead Provisions. And he is first and foremost, he is a sawyer. He wants to run a sawmill. That's what he wants to do. He said, if I could just do this, I would do it. And so I called him this morning, and I said, I need to build a beam. And you guys know maybe I didn't tell you, but I need to have a high rail that I can lift 2 cows up simultaneously. So that's up to, that could be 4,000 pounds. So it's going to be a really stout beam. And I had an idea of how I was going to build it. And I texted him, and then we got texting a little bit more. And then I called him and I said, yeah, I don't know. I obviously don't know what I'm doing. And he said, well, let's do it this way. And he knows what he's doing because that's his business to know that. And so he texted me. I was doing a consulting, and he texted me and he says, well, I'm coming up to pick my wife up. So I'll just drop that wood off at your house. So now tomorrow morning, I can just jump on building that beam right off the bat. And, it's nice. And then he came in 10 minutes before the show started, and he drew it up for me, how I'm supposed to stagger everything. Just like that. So that's the beauty of community. And the Vigoro hasn't even hit the prop blades here in the United States yet, but we have community that we've built. I needed 2 sections of telephone pole, right, to hold up that beam. That beam has to be held up with telephone poles. And they're kind of pricey. And if you want to buy new ones, and I didn't want to buy new ones. And so I put it out there on the tribe, and I recommend you guys do this on the Anyone Can Farm tribe on Facebook. You can't sell stuff on there, right? The administrators will kick you off if you do, because we don't want it to wind up being, ad after ad after ad after ad of people selling stuff. But what you can do is you can put a picture of whatever you have and say, PM me if you need any additional results. People will get the idea. And if it's something that you have that somebody needs, they'll personal message you, and you can deal with it. But another way, a better way, is if you need something. Like I needed a sink. I put it on there, in search of a sink to use in a butcher shop, stainless steel sink. Cha-ching! Actually, that was John Spears too, and his wife was dropping kids off over here to work chicken butchering. She brought the sink with her. Now, I'm not using that sink in there. I'm going to be using it in one of the cabins. But still, the response was just that quick. And another guy by the name of Frisky that's north of me, he had one that was a standalone sink that the picture looked really good. And I'd always wanted to meet that guy. He's got a great big orchard up there. And me and Joe made a date of it and went up there and got the sink from him. I paid for that one. And it turns out it's not going to work where I wanted it, but it will work in the milk house just dandy. But I needed phone poles. So I put it up in search of 2 18-foot sections of phone poles. And I got a bunch of smart guy giving me responses on there. I seen one up by the road in front of your house, Mark. Right. But then Keith Sutton said, I got phone poles. So he calls me and he says, yep, I got a couple that are in great shape. Guy dropped them off here, and come get them. So I got my trusty trailer and went up there, and he picked them up. We trimmed them, and he put them on the trailer. Away we went. So I got those phone calls. I mean, he's another guy in my immediate crew that is right around here. That's kind of a good thing to have. What else? Oh, Dave and Sonia, they're fairly close in our immediate crew. They're the ones that kind of turned us on to the food dehydration deal. Bryce is right over here. He's in Falmouth. More and more, the Ebles crowd is kind of in our crew. A couple of their kids have migrated this way. They want to get into homesteading, and we're getting along pretty good. So that's something that I think you want to pay particular attention to, and you're going to want to do that now. So you might be wondering, okay, Mark came up with the title to this. So he's got something to say, freeze dry, right? What did I say? He's got something to say about this incident that happened. I do. I've got a gut feeling. And for me and my family, I think a sense of urgency is imperative. Like if we color coded it, we are in condition red right now. Now we can downgrade that back down to orange, but I'm in condition red right now. Condition red. And now, does that mean I'm thinking that someone's going to fly into my property in gliders with machine guns? No, that's not it. But I believe that this incident can have it can have a domino effect. It surely can. And we could be in World War III right now. So that's how I feel. And I act accordingly. If I'm wrong, great. Great. But I don't want to wait until I'm sure we're in World War III, because then it's kind of too late. I actually met a guy who's been coming here to buy milk from us for a while. Has come to a couple of our classes, and it turns out that he's retired out of the medical industry, and that's a really nice skill to have in a tough situation. It's nice to know somebody that knows about those things, and other things too. I mean, there's lots and lots of things that people do that it's really nice and really handy if you've got friends who do those things and you can do business with them. I'm not saying get people to do stuff for you for free, because usually stuff done for free, you don't want it, But when you hire somebody that is a friend of yours and you know that they're going to do a good quality job, and they're motivated to do that because you turn other people on to them, that's a good thing. So I recommend people on here. I refer people to you that I've done business with that do a good job and that don't have any peripheral, weirdness issues. There's been people that I've recommended for a while, and then I stopped recommending them because they turn out to be kind of weird, or they're maybe a little abusive when it comes to dealing with people. So I just don't recommend them anymore. But I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna keel haul them or anything. I'm just not gonna recommend them to y'all. Okay, Angus saying one guy said his parents used to pick up the whole plant roots and all and hang it in the rafters. Oh yeah, probably for tomatoes. Yeah, we did that here. Yeah, I think I would like to get a storage container, smaller one, and bury it, and then hook on to my existing root cellar, so I'd have a much bigger room underground, and it will keep things cool. I'm not really interested in one that will withstand a nuclear blast. That's not the point. Okay, Sonia's okay, cool. Abundance is saying, I've done that with cabbage once. The cellar cooled and it worked well. Yep. Okay. So, is there any questions or anything? Does anybody need me to expound on anything? I will tell you that this show is brought to you by the Anyone Can Farm Homestead Hog Harvest, which is coming up. We're going to be the 1st of November, and this is a class. If you did not watch the beginning of this show, you can go back and watch it, and it gives you a good idea what Homestead Hog Harvest is all about. But we start with live pigs, and we go through the process of butchering them. Okay, let's see. We're going to be November 3rd, 4th, and 5th this year. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a 3-day class. Very good class. Been doing it. I think this is going to be our 13th year, maybe 14th. And the idea is to equip you with all the tools that you need. And I don't mean just knives and saws. I mean the how-to, like where do you put the knife? Where do you shoot the pig? How do you get the hair off the pig? How do you eviscerate the pig? Once you get it, what do you do then? How do you break it up? We go through all of that. We do 2 pigs. So everybody gets quite a bit of time, hands-on, 12 people in the class. So it's not real big. We've got a much better facility now than we've ever had to do it. There was a time when we first started that the whole thing was done outside on a hay wagon. And even last year when we did it, we were pushing the hay wagon into the building, but we still had 4 positions to work on the hay wagon. It's just about the right height, but there was a lot of wasted space in the middle. Now we've got 2 long tables that go down right down the center line of the building, and it's very convenient because they're the right height. And we put a full-size cutting board on there, and it's just a lot nicer situation. We've got a nice floor. You're not standing on gravel like we'd done in the past, and we're out of the elements. Usually the first weekend in November has typically been very nice, but this is northern Michigan, and it could be snowing. It could be really cold. And then we have the charcuterie class, which is in December. And that's another real great class to attend, because like me right now, okay, World War III on the horizon, let's say I get to the point where I say, okay, I know I've got several pigs here that are out walking around, eating grass, eating hay. I'm giving them bread, I'm feeding them and stuff. But if I need to, that's a lot of calories right there. And it's just a 22 bullet away from hanging up in the butcher shop, and we're taking really nice cuts off of it. So the supply chain can get disrupted very, very well, completely. But we're going to be okay because we've prepared ahead of time. And I haven't prepared, I think there's some merit to preparing as in stocking up. I do. I think there's some merit to that, because you don't necessarily have to survive forever on what you stock up, because we pretty well know you're not going to. You're going to run out at some point. But it does give you some time, and that's good. But then when you've done that, when you've put up those stores, then you think, okay, well, what's the next thing that I could do? I could build some resiliency into my prepping or my survivalist toolbox. And in my case, I've gotten to be a pretty good butcher over the years, right? So if you can butcher a pig, you can probably butcher a cow. If you can butcher a cow, you could probably butcher a squirrel if you had to. And I know you can. I mean, I butchered my first squirrel when I was probably 10 years old, and a rabbit and pheasants and quail and doves. I butchered doves. So I have that going for me. But if you don't have that going for you, you need to do something about that. And therefore, you need to take the Homestead Hog Harvest class. If you're a Tribe Plus member, you get a real good break on the price. And then you get to hang out with us for the weekend. It's a really good class. And it's not all just about butchering hogs. There's a lot of time that we are eating together, and we show you the farm, and you get a real immersion experience into what goes on here on a daily basis. And some of these people that are on here right now are my friends, and they come here and they think, wow, you do this all the time, huh? Not just on class days. No, we do this all the time. And in my life, training is huge, right? Because I've got sons, and I had to get them all trained. And my last two sons are at home right now, and they have benefited from all the years of training with their brothers. And it's very natural for them to process a deer or a pig or a cow even. It's very natural for them to do that. It's not like, they kind of think, don't other kids do this? Well, no, they don't. You're kind of an anomaly, because we've made the decision that these skills are far more important than golfing or spreadsheets, those types of things. That was the old United States. The new United States for the next 50 years, you better know the animal if you want to eat. And not only do these skills give you a survival, a monetary edge too, because old ways, they're forgotten ways, and then they're almost off your radar as far as, Teddy, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I want to be a computer programmer. Well, we might not have computers then, but maybe you ought to think about becoming a butcher. Oh, what's that? What do butchers do? Kids don't even know. They don't even know where their food comes from. Well, that doesn't have to stay that way. We can reverse course, or we can adjust our heading, and we can start to learn those things. So if you're head of a household now, or maybe even second in command of a household, you need to be thinking, okay, what skills do we sorely lack if we want to live? And then you start knocking those off. Start getting those things taken care of. And I've always said that the people that come here are generally homesteaders, small farmers. And if the homesteader, small farmer has the edge of being able to process his own animals, it's a serious edge. It's a serious edge. It's not just a 1-up. No, it's like 5-up. And, there's all kinds of reasons that people give me why they're not going to do it. And I just say, well, then you're not ready for it. But when you get ready, you will have a real edge over the next guy. So the definition of a successful homesteader is a person who is willing to do what an unsuccessful homesteader is not. And when you think about it, when you're faced with a new process and you start making excuses why you're not going to do it, you're putting yourself squarely in the unsuccessful homesteader category. Squarely. There is no reason, no good reason why, if you want to be a successful homesteader, why you wouldn't take this class and the next one. Now, if you're in Texas and you can take the class from Sean Kelly, more power to you. But he's the only other one that I know that gives a class like this or even close to this. And it's very important to have these skills. Enough said. Enough said. Okay, I'm going to get signed off. Jill's making me some good greasons. There will not be a consulting class tomorrow night. It is our off night. For those of you who are in Tribe Plus, you are entitled to consulting twice a month on Wednesdays. And make no mistake, I'm going to be very blunt about this. As we get closer to crunch time, and we may be in crunch time right now, if you are someone who knows things, you need to share those things. You need to share those things. If you know how to do things, you need to be sharing those things. You have an obligation to do that. Now, I, for a long time now, have run a consulting facet of our business because I've made it my business to learn how to do stuff. Now, I never learned it so I could pass it on. I never, that's not why I learned it. I learned it because I was interested in it. And before I go to sleep at night, I think about things, and the next day I get up and I make them happen. So I know how to do a lot of stuff. I really do. I have a lot of things that I know how to do. So I have a consulting business. If somebody wants to learn how to do stuff or lay out a property or have me to their property to find out if it's possible to have a homestead there, yes, I do hire out as a consultant. And my time is expensive because when I have to leave my farm, I'm not here making the fundage that I would if I'm here. So if I travel to your farm, yes, it costs. And sometimes people get put out by that. But think about it. If you don't know how to do the thing, you're not going to be very effective. If it's somebody who does know how to do the thing, he can really give you a leg up. But it costs. It's like if you call a lawyer and you got to go to court and you don't know what to do in court. Well, you call a lawyer. What did they charge you by the minute, I think? Right? It's sort of the same thing. It's very much the same thing, although there's very few homestead consultants of that service twice a month via twice a month. That's very valuable when you think about it. Because if I come to your farm, I charge $500 an. Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, who do you think you are? Yeah, well, it's real easy to say, hey, would you come out to my place and tell me what to do? And I don't charge you for it. Chances are you're going to blow me off. That's just the way it is. Whoa, son. Computer fell over backwards. All right. So there you go. I'm going to get rolling. Appreciate everybody coming by. Please give us a thumbs up, like, and share if you would. And we will see you next week. Hey, look, if something breaks and I feel as though it's, I want to talk to you guys, I will just do an impromptu live stream and you'll get a notification, I think, and we can communicate that way. But for now, remember, anyone can farm. Sayonara.